Welcome to the kitchen, let's cook. Today we're tackling a subject that's close to my heart, beef. That's right, the king of meats. We're diving headfirst into the top 10 ways to prepare beef. And trust me, if you can follow these simple techniques, even you lot can produce something edible. Whether you're a seasoned chef, or you wouldn't know a ribeye from a rubber tire, this is your guide to beef nirvana. Get ready to elevate your cooking game and learn how to prepare beef that's so good, it'll make you want to swear like a sailor. Alright, let's start with the basics, grilling. When it comes to grilling, you need a cut that can stand up to the heat. We're talking ribeye, sirloin, T-bone cuts with some fat that'll render beautifully over the flames. Now before you even think about throwing that beautiful piece of meat on the grill, make sure it's at room temperature. A cold steak is a one-way ticket to disappointment. Season it generously with salt and pepper. Don't be shy, or use a marinade if you want to add some extra flavor, and for God's sake, make sure your grill is screaming hot. We're talking searing heat that'll give you those beautiful grill marks and lock in all the juices. Remember, we're not looking for gray, overcooked rubbish. We want a nice charred exterior and a juicy pink center. Listen up, you lot. Pan searing might seem simple, but it's a skill that separates the home cooks from the culinary masters. For this technique, you'll want a cut that cooks quickly and evenly, like a filet mignon, strip steak, or flat iron. Now get your pan screaming hot. I want to hear it sizzle when the beef hits the surface. Add a touch of oil or butter, just enough to coat the pan, and then sear the hell out of that steak. We're talking a beautiful caramelized crust on each side. If you're working with a thicker cut, pop it in the oven after searing to finish cooking to your liking. Remember, a meat thermometer is your best friend here. No more guessing, no more dry, overcooked disasters. Roasting. It's the perfect way to cook larger cuts of beef like prime rib, tenderloin, or brisket. The key here is low and slow cooking. Preheat your oven to a moderate temperature, around 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Celsius, and season your beef generously. You can use a dry rub, herbs, or even just salt and pepper. Place the beef on a roasting rack, fat side up, and slide it into the oven. Now leave it alone. Don't you dare open that oven door every 5 minutes. Let the beef work its magic. Use a meat thermometer to check for doneness. You're aiming for an internal temperature of around 130 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit, 55 to 57 degrees Celsius, for medium rare. Once it's cooked to your liking, let it rest for at least 15 minutes before carving. This allows the juices to redistribute, resulting in a more tender and flavorful roast. Chapter 4. Slow Cooking Melt-in-Your-Mouth Magic. Right, let's talk about slow cooking. This is where tough cuts of beef like chuck roast, brisket, and short ribs transform into tender, flavorful masterpieces. Sear the beef first to develop some color and flavor, then toss it in your slow cooker or Dutch oven with some aromatics like onions, garlic, and herbs. Add enough liquid to come up about halfway up the sides of the beef, put the lid on, and let it work its magic for hours. The low and slow cooking breaks down the tough, connective tissues, resulting in meat so tender, it falls apart at the touch. Serve it with mashed potatoes, polenta, or crusty bread to soak up all that delicious gravy. Chapter 5. Stir-frying, fast, fresh, and flavor-packed. Listen up. When you need a quick and easy meal that doesn't compromise on flavor, stir-frying is your best friend. Use thinly sliced beef like flank steak, sirloin, or even ribeye. The key to a successful stir-fry is to have all your ingredients prepped and ready to go before you even turn on the heat. Get your wok or skillet screaming hot, add a touch of oil, and then stir-fry the beef in batches, making sure not to overcrowd the pan. Once the beef is browned, add your vegetables, sauces, and aromatics, and stir-fry until everything is cooked through but still crisp tender. Serve it over rice or noodles for a complete meal.
Breaking news.
Chapter 6. Smoking the Art of BBQ Bliss. Smoking these meats is a labor of love, but trust me, the results are worth the effort. For smoking, you'll want cuts like brisket, ribs, or tri-tip cuts with a good amount of fat that will render beautifully during the long cooking process. Before you even think about firing up the smoker, you need to choose your wood. Different woods impart different flavors, so experiment to find your favorites. Season your beef generously with a dry rub, then place it in the smoker, fat side up, maintaining a low and slow temperature, around 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, or 107 to 121 degrees Celsius. Smoking is a marathon, not a sprint, so be patient and let the smoke work its magic. Use a meat thermometer to monitor the internal temperature, and don't be afraid to wrap the beef in foil if it starts to get too dark. Once it's cooked to perfection, let it rest for at least an hour before slicing and serving. Chapter 7. Sous vide precision cooking for perfect results. Alright, you culinary nerds, listen up. Sous vide might sound intimidating, but it's actually a foolproof method for cooking beef to absolute perfection. You'll need a sous vide machine for this one, but trust me, it's worth the investment. Season your beef tenderloin, ribeye, and strip steak work beautifully with this method, then vacuum seal it in a bag. Set your sous vide machine to the desired internal temperature, usually around 130 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit, or 55 to 57 degrees Celsius, for medium rare, and drop the bag in the water bath. The beauty of sous vide is that the beef will cook evenly to the exact temperature you set, resulting in perfectly cooked meat every single time. Once it's done, sear the beef in a screaming hot pan or on the grill to develop a nice crust. Chapter 8. Braising hearty flavors, fork tender results. Braising is a classic technique that's perfect for tougher cuts of beef like chuck roast, short ribs, and shank. It involves searing the beef first to develop color and flavor, then simmering it gently in liquid for hours until it's fall-apart tender. Start by searing the beef in a Dutch oven or heavy-bottomed pot. Remove the beef and set it aside, then add your aromatics onions, carrots, celery, and cook until softened. Deglaze the pot with wine or stock, scraping up any browned bits from the bottom. Return the beef to the pot, along with enough liquid to come up about halfway up the sides. Bring to a simmer, then cover and cook in the oven or on the stovetop until the beef is incredibly tender. Chapter 9. Ground beef. Beyond the burger, ground beef is incredibly versatile. Sure, you can make a decent burger with it, but don't limit yourself. Ground chuck and ground round are excellent choices for a range of dishes. Use it to make meatballs simmered in a rich tomato sauce, whip up a flavorful taco filling, or create a comforting beef and bean chili. The possibilities are endless. Just remember to season your ground beef generously and cook it thoroughly. No one wants a pink burger, you hear me? Chapter 10. Carpaccio and Tartar raw talent. Now for you adventurous eaters, let's talk about Carpaccio and Tartar. Two preparations that showcase the delicate flavor of raw beef. For both dishes, you'll want to use the leanest cut of beef you can find. Tenderloin is the gold standard. For Carpaccio, thinly slice the beef and arrange it on a plate. Drizzle with olive oil, lemon juice, and season with salt and pepper. You can also add toppings like shaved parmesan, capers, or arugula. Tartare, on the other hand, involves finely chopping the beef and mixing it with seasonings like Dijon mustard, capers, shallots, and a raw egg yolk. Serve it with toasted baguette slices or crackers. Well, there you have it, you lot. 10 ways to prepare beef that'll make you the envy of every meat lover you know. Remember, cooking beef is all about understanding the cut, using the right technique, and seasoning it properly. Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them. And for God's sake, stop serving up dry, overcooked rubbish. Now get out of my kitchen and go cook some bloody good beef.